This is the most twisted protagonist I've ever seen, even more demonic than the Demon Lord himself. His reason for defeating the Demon Lord was because the world doesn't need two evil organizations. Yes, this time Agent 6 is not only a villain, and he's also a shameless rogue. He is part of an evil organization on Earth, which is on the verge of conquering the world. To expand their territory, they decide to send Agent 6 to conquer other planets. Accompanying him is a robot named Alice, who claims to have no combat abilities and warns that if she experiences any violence, her self-destruct mechanism will activate. Agent 6 is stunned. Just as he is about to refuse to take her along, the doctor hands him a teleportation device, indicating that any equipment can be requested from the organization through it. Agent 6 has two objectives for this mission. First, to build a base and install the teleporter. Second, to gather information about the local combat power and resources. Hearing the daunting nature of the task, Agent 6 immediately demands a reward from his superiors, only to be kicked away by his female boss. Thus, Agent 6 is forcibly sent into the teleportation chamber. The doctor nervously sends Agent 6 in, because it has only been tested once. So far, the teleportation success rate is still 100%. Agent 6 instantly regrets it, but it's too late. A flash of red light passes, and Agent 6 disappears from the teleportation chamber, then appears 30,000 meters in the air. In a panic, Agent 6 asks Alice to activate flight mode, but Alice only mentions her self-destruct device. Fortunately, she has prepared a parachute. Agent 6 is really fed up, and finally lands safely without incident. Then, Alice suddenly administers a vaccine to him, saying it's to prevent him from contracting viruses from this planet. Next, they prepare to sneak into the city they just saw. Agent 6 wants to use the teleportation device to have headquarters send a car, but Alice says this requires evil points, which are the points they earn from committing bad deeds. However, Agent 6 only has 300 points because he usually spends them on adult magazines. As they continue walking, suddenly a group of creatures they've never seen before appears. After Agent 6 barely manages to shoot a few monsters, he looks at Alice hiding behind him and starts complaining. This so-called high-fidelity robot, in pursuit of realism, has combat power set to that of an ordinary girl. But after all, a small handgun has limited fighting power, and soon Agent 6 is bitten by a dog. He looks at Alice, who is calm, and asks her to quickly think of something. But Alice is still angry about being called scrap metal by Agent 6. Agent 6 quickly apologizes, and Alice takes the opportunity to extort evil points from him, then switches to a shotgun and successfully resolves the crisis for Agent 6. Just as Agent 6 breathes a sigh of relief, he is surrounded by a group of large, fierce creatures called Snow, who speak a language Agent 6 doesn't understand. Fortunately, Alice has a built-in translation function. She transfers the language data into Agent 6's brain, then convinces the Snow that Agent 6 is mentally ill, successfully earning their trust. Considering their ability to defeat the monsters, Snow also introduced herself to the two. She revealed that she is the captain of the Royal Guards, and even promised to help them find jobs. Then, Snow led them into the city. Unexpectedly, all the guards were old men, and there was a broken tank at the city gate. Snow explained that it was an ancient weapon, and although they had tried to preserve it with magic, many parts were still rusted. Soon after, Snow introduced them to Princess Tillis of the kingdom. Agent 6 immediately let his true nature show. Tillis realized that Agent 6 was not a local, as everyone in the country knew her, and a local would not have such a lecherous expression. Hearing this, Snow quickly introduced the two, saying they had come here through the magic forest, and were certainly skilled. This was exactly what Tillis needed, as the Demon Lord had recently declared war on them, and the country was in desperate need of talent. Thus, Tillis immediately extended an invitation to them, which they promptly accepted, as it also served their mission. However, Snow was somewhat concerned about Agent 6's rudeness. Alice reassured her, stating that Agent 6 was very capable in warfare. This would allow Snow, who had referred them, to earn considerable merit. At this point, Agent 6 understood Snow's true intentions. Women, she claimed, love achievements, money, and famous swords. Snow thought Agent 6 was the same type of person, so she proposed a collaboration. But Agent 6 was just a simple pervert. At that moment, Alice discovered a large box, which Snow explained was a legendary artifact used to create rain, but it was currently broken. Alice immediately offered to fix it, which excited Snow, as repairing it would be a great achievement. After announcing this, she went to seek credit from Tillis. After some tinkering by Alice, the machine was up and running again. According to the voice prompt, they needed to set a password. Agent 6 then made a comment that was embarrassingly suggestive, imagining the royal family saying it in public, which would not only make Tillis blush every time, but also earn him many evil points. However, Alice pointed out that the king, an old man, would also have to shout this slogan. Agent 6 suddenly felt that things were not looking good. Their conversation was overheard by Tillis, who had rushed over. Although Agent 6 successfully earned some evil points, they also committed a great sin. The king, seeing that their merits outweighed their offenses, decided not to pursue the matter further. Tillis proposed to take them under her wing unexpectedly. The king agreed without hesitation. Snow, however, was unhappy, claiming that their strength suggested they might be spies from another country. Upon hearing this, Agent 6 accused her of possibly being a traitor. After a heated argument, Agent 6 reminded Snow of her promise to take full responsibility for their actions. Consequently, Snow was demoted by one rank to become Agent 6's assistant, responsible for his daily care, while Agent 6 was promoted directly to captain. The first step was naturally to recruit team members, but the country's male soldiers were all old men, and the only young people were women. From such a group, how would you choose your subordinates? In this world, all the young men had perished in the battle against the Demon Lord's army. However, the women's combat abilities were no less inferior to the men's. After some selection, Alice identified two individuals. The first was a Chunibu girl named Rose, whose ability allowed her to transform into anything she ate. Her gluttonous nature was something Agent 6 could easily manipulate. The second was Grim, a wheelchair-bound high priestess who worshipped the gods of immortality and calamity. She provocatively lifted her skirt, but Agent 6 unexpectedly lifted it further, increasing his evil points, leaving Grim embarrassed and crying out for Agent 6 to take care of her. Seeing this, Snow sighed deeply. She had not expected Agent 6 to recruit these two, but as long as she commanded them, she was sure they could achieve great results. However, Agent 6 was not pleased upon hearing this, as he was now the captain. Naturally, Snow was not willing to back down either, so the two decided to determine command through a duel. Agent 6 immediately resorted to a clever trick which infuriated Snow. She drew her great sword and was about to dismember Agent 6 on the spot, but luckily Tillis intervened just in time to stop the farce. Tillis came to inform Agent 6 that there were no vacant rooms in the barracks, so Agent 6 and Alice would have to share a room. The most important thing now was to achieve a victory first, then request a base to set up the teleportation device. The next day, Agent 6 led his squad to the battlefield. However, the country's traditional combat tactics were foolish. They straightforwardly attacked the Demon Lord's army. Disgusted by this, Agent 6 suggested ambushing the enemy's supply troops. The righteous Snow felt Agent 6 was too despicable, as the supply troops consisted mainly of the old and weak. But she had no choice, as under Agent 6's coercion and temptation, the group began their operation. After their attack, the Demon Lord's army fled, and using the spoils of war, Agent 6 successfully tricked Rose. He let the Demon Lord's army know their terror. Just as Rose was about to eat a roasted orc, a lion heron descended from the sky, its imposing aura indicating it was no ordinary creature. Without hesitation, Agent 6 started taking photos, noting from her attire that she was of officer rank. The woman unabashedly admitted she was one of the Demon Lord's 4 heavenly kings, Heine. Heine hadn't expected Agent 6 to attack the supply troops, but she admired his shameless spirit. So she tried to recruit Agent 6 into the Demon Lord's army, offering him a tempting condition. After conquering humanity, all human females would be under Agent 6's management. Without a second thought, Agent 6 agreed to join, but after being reprimanded by Alice, he changed his mind. As the situation escalated, Heine began to attack, but Agent 6 was not intimidated, especially since they had the numerical advantage. However, at the crucial moment, his teammates faltered. Snow and Rose said they would go to transport supplies. Alice offered to support Agent 6 from behind, and Grimm was fast asleep in a cave. Agent 6 was fed up with his incompetent team, which almost made Heine die laughing. Immediately following, Heine launched another attack on Agent 6, who deeply regretted the situation. If things continued like this, he might truly defect. Just when Agent 6 was in a desperate situation, Alice took action. Her shotgun severely injured the lion heron, but the powerful recoil also slammed Alice into the wall. Heine was shocked by the weapon's power. Just as they thought they had the upper hand, a dark shadow flashed overhead. The newcomer was another of the 4 heavenly kings, Gadal Kand. At that moment, Grimm also woke up from the noise. Gadal Kand swung his club, smashing both the wheelchair and Grimm beyond recognition. Agent 6 was dumbfounded. Seeing this, Heine lost interest and left the scene riding the lion heron. The death of a teammate enraged everyone, and they launched a combined attack on Gadal Kand. Agent 6, unusually serious, decided to go all out to avenge Grimm. However, a sergeant then arrived with orders for Gadal Kand to return immediately. Reluctantly, Gadal Kand had to retreat, leaving a bewildered and angry Agent 6 behind. What made him even more speechless was Snow telling him that Grimm wouldn't die. She explained that by placing Grimm on the altar of the evil god she worshipped and arranging the offerings, Grimm would be resurrected by nightfall. Everyone else left the scene, but Agent 6 wanted to witness the resurrection process firsthand. As the night deepened, a light suddenly flashed, and Grimm's head regrew. The resurrected Grimm was curious why Agent 6 was there. He explained that he didn't want Grimm to feel lonely upon awakening without anyone by her side. Touched by his words, Grimm immediately proposed a date with Agent 6. Using his points, Agent 6 exchanged for a modern wheelchair and had an unusual date with Grimm, which increased his evil points. Their speeding caught the attention of a police officer, but what she didn't know was that Grimm's most hated people were women who were taken. So, she cast a dizziness curse on the woman, which is another of Grimm's abilities. However, the success rate of her curse was only 80%, and each curse required a specific offering. If the curse failed, it would rebound onto herself, which is how she had injured her legs. This caused the woman to mock her. Enraged, Grimm tried to curse the woman again, but it failed and rebounded onto herself. This is the most villainous Agent 6 I have seen, who, with bandit-like tactics, defeated the Demon Lord's supply troops, causing them to retreat overnight. The people of this kingdom seemed to lack common sense, not understanding why the enemy had retreated. Just then, Agent 6 came in to take credit and explained to these brain-dead ministers the basic survival principle. Without food or water, you're doomed. The enlightened king Antilles thanked Agent 6. This country also has an ancient legend that when humanity is threatened by the Demon Lord, a chosen hero will bear a mark on his hand and gain immense power to lead humanity to victory. Hearing this, Agent 6 immediately showed his mark, claiming it had appeared just yesterday. However, everyone was shocked because it was not a mark, but a bite from a poisonous insect, said to be fatal upon biting. Fortunately, Alice had inoculated him with a vaccine upon their arrival, saving Agent 6's life. Nonetheless, Agent 6 still insisted that he was the hero Tillis spoke of. It was then that Tillis mentioned that the prince already had a mark on his hand. Agent 6 was stunned. "Why didn't you say this earlier? I got my hopes up for nothing." Just as he left the palace, Rose hurriedly found Agent 6. It turned out Alice wanted to experiment to see if Rose could turn into a locust by eating one. Although Rose was a foodie, she absolutely couldn't stand insects. After some struggle, they both gave up on researching Rose. Agent 6 was curious why Rose, with such powerful abilities, was willing to be at the army's disposal. Rose explained that she wanted to understand what she really was, as she had been found in ancient ruins and had long forgotten her past memories. The only thing she remembered was her grandfather, who was always researching a stone that he claimed could perform any miracle. But her grandfather had also lost his life due to dabbling in forbidden magic. Therefore, Rose swore to fulfill her grandfather's last wish. Now, not only was she unable to conduct any research, but she was also clueless about her own origins. The kingdom had promised her that if she stayed and worked hard, they would share the research results of the ruins with her. Hearing this, Even Agent 6 disdained the kingdom's dirty tactics. So he and Alice discussed pulling Rose into their evil organization. Although their intentions were good, it somehow felt like Rose was becoming even more dangerous. They then directly put the organization's badge on Rose and congratulated her on joining with an unkind smile, accompanied by a round of applause. Meanwhile, in her dreams, Grimm dreamt that she was getting married and was no longer single. Back at his residence, Agent 6 began to doubt his life. Despite having female subordinates, he wondered why none of the scenarios he had fantasized about had ever occurred. He spent his days sulking in a corner, hoping to find love around the corner. To prevent Agent 6 from being seen as a pervert, Alice had no choice but to comfort him. But this was nowhere near enough to satisfy Agent 6's lecherous soul. Outside, Snow had not expected to come to call Agent 6 to a meeting, only to overhear such embarrassing conversations. When they arrived at the meeting room, everyone was solemn. It turned out that the hero had been severely injured by the highest-level monster in the Monster Tower. Moreover, according to the hero, the tower contained treasures necessary to conquer the Demon Lord's castle. With the Demon Lord's army about to attack again, they couldn't wait for the hero to recover. They had no choice but to adopt a strategy of attacking the tower level by level. However, the military advisor, still resentful of Agent 6 from earlier, tasked him with coming up with a better plan. Agent 6 proposed setting the tower on fire, arguing that since the tower resembled a chimney, they could simply conquer the first level, start a big fire, and turn the monsters above into smoked barbecue. Although this was a good idea, the officers firmly disagreed with such an underhanded method. The next day, they still opted for a direct assault. However, due to the overly straightforward and foolish combat tactics, Agent 6 decided to just rest until the evening. Snow urged Agent 6 to take action, but he pointed out that the tower contained monsters that even the hero couldn't defeat. With his poor combat skills, a direct attack was hopeless. They could only wait until Grimm woke up in the evening to make a plan. Unable to stand Agent 6's weakness, Snow took up arms and joined the battlefield. But Agent 6 was calm, confident in her abilities to handle it. As expected, by evening, a breathless Snow returned, but Grimm was still asleep, seemingly deep in a pleasant dream. Snow anxiously tried to wake Grimm. Once she awoke, Alice was also ready. Agent 6's plan was to use a nail gun to climb directly to the top of the tower. Meanwhile, the soldiers were still charging through the tower's interior. From outside the tower, Agent 6 couldn't help but lament the soldiers' foolishness. However, the noise was a good distraction to cover their movements. Just then, Snow suddenly stopped. It turned out that after swinging her sword all day, she was completely out of strength. As she spoke, she collapsed from exhaustion. Fortunately, Agent 6, with his strong arms, managed to pull her up. Carrying Snow, he planned to climb upwards, and the two bickered all the way up. As night fell, the two bosses on the rooftop were comfortably discussing their victory over the hero, thinking this would surely earn the Demon Lord's favor and secure their promotions. Unbeknownst to them, their nightmare was about to begin. While the bosses were lost in their fantasies, Agent 6 kicked one of them down. The boss clung desperately to the railing. Sensing trouble, the remaining minion, a Minotaur, felt uneasy. At that moment, Agent 6 picked up a rock and threw it at the Minotaur. Accompanied by a scream, Agent 6's evil points increased. Climbing to the top, the goat demon saw his comrade defeated, which enraged him immensely. However, Agent 6 was not worried and even taunted him, increasing his evil points further. Who is the real villain here? He wondered. Agent 6, having accomplished a great feat, received a full bag of gold coins. When he learned that the amount was enough for a family to squander for a year, he immediately decided not to return. I might as well retire here, he thought, given the generous reward. He recalled that he had fought in the Sahara Desert for over a month for the organization and had only earned a few $100s. Alice initially wanted to persuade Agent 6, but when Snow handed her own share of the reward, Alice was also tempted. Agent 6 was a pervert, and his method of defeating the Demon Lord's officers was even more perverse. Recently, Agent 6, having earned several commendations, was envied by the kingdom's military advisor and was sent to the front lines as cannon fodder to battle Heine, one of the Demon Lord's 4 heavenly kings. Seeing the strong opposition, Agent 6 planned to just make a token effort and retreat. However, his own soldiers were full of fighting spirit. Before Agent 6 could issue any commands, they had already organized themselves for the task. Snow, wielding a new sword made from millennium-old ice, which she had bought on a 3-year installment plan, charged at Heine despite Agent 6's efforts to stop her. Rose expressed a desire to try eating a lion heron to see if she could gain the ability to fly, and also rushed forward. Agent 6 was speechless. What use is a commander like me? Meanwhile, Alice was responsible for watching over the sleeping Grimm. Thus, Agent 6's opponent was a stone golem. As others engaged their chosen foes, Agent 6 pulled out a small pistol and fired at the stone golem. But unfortunately, the damage was 0. Helplessly, Agent 6 had to run while asking Alice to hurry and wake Grimm. But Grimm could not be woken by any means. Alice told Agent 6 to stall for time while she requested a C4 from headquarters. Having no choice, Agent 6 bravely faced the stone golem, punching it. But he ended up fracturing his hand. Frustrated, Agent 6 kicked the golem, but the damage was still 0, and he was slapped to the ground by the golem. Fortunately, Agent 6's brute strength allowed him to barely hold on. Subsequently, Agent 6 couldn't help but complain about the slow speed of the item teleportation. Alice calculated and realized that it happened to be the headquarters tea time. Seeing that they couldn't hold on much longer, they had no choice but to deactivate the combat suit's restrictions. Although it could temporarily enhance his strength for 1 minute, it would leave him unable to move for 3 minutes afterward. This was why Agent 6 had initially refrained from using it. After the safety device was deactivated, Agent 6 lifted the stone creature entirely. Just then, Alice, carrying the C4, rushed over. At the moment Agent 6 threw the stone creature, Alice detonated the bomb. After dealing with the stone creature, Agent 6 entered his cooldown period. The flying debris also woke Grimm up. Seeing this, Agent 6 quickly asked them to come and protect him because emerging from the smoke was Heine himself. Agent 6 had to use his mouth to stall for time as much as possible. He asked Heine what she ate to grow her breasts so large, but this comment only angered Heine, who responded with a fireball spell. Fortunately, Rose took the hit for him. At that moment, Snow also ran back crying because her newly bought ice sword had been melted by Heine. She pleaded with Agent 6 to avenge her sword. Amidst the chaos, Heine realized that Agent 6 was immobilized and prepared to finish him off with a powerful move. Rose panicked, knowing she couldn't block this one, and told Agent 6 to run. Agent 6 was exasperated. If he could run, he would have done so already. Just then, Grimm intervened, casting a paralysis curse on Heine. As Agent 6's cooldown ended, Heine, seeing the situation turning against her, once again invited Agent 6 to join the Demon Lord's army, offering him triple his current salary and several succubus maids. Without a second thought, Agent 6 decided to defect. However, just as they were about to sign the contract, Snow intervened, cutting off the gem on Heine's bracelet. Heine panicked. It turned out that the gem was a magic stone where she stored her magic power. Without it, she was just an ordinary demon. Agent 6 smirked, and then used the gem as leverage to make Heine pose in various embarrassing positions for photos, right in front of both armies, earning a significant amount of evil points. This humiliating act thrilled Snow, feeling like revenge for her sword. Rose thought it was all too pitiful, but Agent 6 had no intention of returning the magic stone. Upon learning the truth, a furious Heine vowed to kill Agent 6. But facing a Heine without her magic stone, Agent 6 was not the least bit afraid. Agent 6 simply placed the stone in his crotch, prompting Heine to flee in disarray. At the victory celebration, Snow acknowledged Agent 6 as the captain for the first time. After a bout of heavy drinking, Agent 6 gave Snow an affectionate nickname, which embarrassed and annoyed her. She threw something at Agent 6 and stormed off, muttering that she would kill him herself one day. However, unbeknownst to the speaker but meaningful to the listener, a jealous military advisor overheard this. He began to sow discord between Snow and Agent 6. Snow, not the brightest, believed the advisor's slander, and followed his instructions to investigate whether Agent 6 was a spy. Though somewhat skeptical, Snow proceeded as advised. But, as soon as she reached the door, she overheard a conversation suggesting a different kind of thrill if Snow were his wife. The moment Agent 6 mentioned a spy mission, Snow burst in, demanding an explanation. This was a complete disaster. He exposed himself as a spy. Fortunately, Snow, considering their past relationship and his contributions, only expelled Agent 6 from the army. Agent 6 didn't really care, as the gold coins he had saved were already enough to establish a base. Now, he just needed to set up the teleporter and wait to connect with Earth. Once that was done, his organization's fighters could come and conquer this place. With the power of the organization, the Demon Lord's army would naturally be no match. Although he said this, Agent 6 felt a pang in his heart when he thought of his companions. However, Alice noticed Agent 6's distress. Agent 6 claimed he had no attachment to this primitive planet, but Alice could tell he was just being stubborn and didn't call him out on it. She then got up to install the teleporter, which would take about a month to stabilize the transport space. Alice then instructed Agent 6 to accumulate some evil points, as the Demon Lord's army had started to mobilize again. Hearing this, Agent 6 planned to make Snow reflect on her decision to expel him. However, Alice expressed her displeasure at how her invasion site was being messed up. So, Agent 6, to protect his territory of invasion, started accumulating evil points to thwart the Demon Lord's army's advances. He began scaring women on the streets with his perverted behavior, although he was actually concerned for their safety. Thus, he frightened several girls away that night. When he saw another woman walking alone on the street and started harassing her, she appeared very scared and resistant. But his evil points did not increase. Turns out it was a case of a weirdo meeting another weirdo. At that moment, a voice interrupted Agent 6. It was Snow, looking disdainful. She then criticized him severely, and though Agent 6 hurriedly explained it was to combat the Demon Lord's army, Snow didn't believe him. Rose quickly came out to mediate, but Snow was too fed up to argue with Agent 6 and turned to leave. The next day, Agent 6, now infamous as the Zipper Hero, found his reputation had spread throughout the town. When he was buying food, the shopkeeper joked that he thought Agent 6 would pull money out of his opened zipper. Even a group of children mocked him, and soon the talk about him increased. Seeing posters all over the street, he knew Snow must have been behind it, so he went to Alice to complain, but ended up being teased by her as well. Agent 6 was nearly at his breaking point, insisting he was doing all this to save the country. Alice was speechless. Although it was her who had instructed Agent 6 to accumulate evil points, she hadn't expected him to engage in such low-level misdeeds. Nonetheless, he had managed to earn over 500 points. She then instructed Agent 6 to keep 200 points as a reserve and exchange the rest for landmines. She had already predicted the Demon Lord's army's advance route, and by setting up landmines and traps there, they could certainly inflict significant losses on them. So that night, the two buried landmines along the essential path. Agent 6 also specifically set a trap for Heine, cheekily arranging for her to happily step on a landmine. On their way back the next day, they found the residents looking terrified, as if something major had happened. Upon inquiry, they learned that the hero had gone missing. Afterward, Alice gathered some intelligence. It turned out that not long ago, the hero had driven one of the 4 heavenly kings to a desperate situation. However, the enemy, in a final counterattack, used a random teleportation spell to transport the hero away, possibly to somewhere above or below. Statistically, the hero's chances of surviving were very slim. Agent 6 couldn't help but feel sympathy for the hero. If it weren't for the fact that he had a parachute, he might have ended up in the same predicament as the hero. But according to usual plot conventions, the hero shouldn't die so abruptly. Overall, it was because Agent 6 had disrupted the original storyline, leading the hero to attempt to take on the 4 heavenly kings prematurely. Agent 6 was stunned by this realization. Alice then offered Agent 6 2 solutions: teleport some typically prohibited bacterial and chemical weapons, or have Alice herself rush into the Demon Lord's castle and detonate herself, taking all the enemies and the castle with her. Both options were rejected. With the ace hero gone, even if they managed to repel the Demon Lord's army this time, it would only be a temporary solution. So, they prepared to pack their bags and leave. However, at that moment, Tillis came to them and took out a parachute, asking Agent 6 what it was. Upon learning it was a parachute, Tillis cut to the chase and asked Agent 6 if he was a spy from another country. Agent 6 knelt and admitted it immediately. However, Tillis laughed. She wasn't there to capture Agent 6. She was well aware that her own country couldn't defeat the Demon Lord's army, so she wanted Agent 6 to witness the last moments of their country and tell other nations about their valiant fight against the Demon Lord's forces to prepare them for the impending battle. Agent 6 was deeply moved by her words and abandoned his plans to flee. At that time, others also found Agent 6. When Snow and Agent 6 met, their encounter inevitably led to an argument. However, to others, this seemed to symbolize a close relationship. Perhaps it was the so-called love expressed through bickering and quarreling. Meanwhile, the kingdom's soldiers were prepared to die. The next day, under the leadership of Heine and Gadalkand, the Demon Lord's army marched towards the capital. Just as Heine was about to warn Gadalkand to be wary of Agent 6, a loud explosion was heard from below. It was one of Agent 6's landmines. Unaware of such high-tech devices, Heine ordered her troops to accelerate, resulting in even more of them being blown away. The two were baffled. At that moment, Heine suddenly felt a familiar magical fluctuation, seemingly from her magic stone. After some searching, she indeed found her magic stone, which was exactly the trap Agent 6 had set for her. On the other side, Tillis was demonstrating her magic to Agent 6. After a long wait, a drop of water fell. The girl claimed that it was a spell to summon a water spirit. Agent 6 was speechless. The day quickly passed, and by evening, the Demon Lord's army arrived, looking quite disheveled. Heine was so furious that she stormed into the capital demanding the soldiers hand over Agent 6. Snow, of course, refused, and Grimm immediately cast a curse on Heine. This ignited a fierce battle between the two sides. The spectacle of Grimm's spellcasting scared Heine significantly. She hastily released her magic, but the curse failed. Fortunately, Grimm doesn't use fire magic, so even if the curse rebounded, it had no effect on her. Moreover, she still had plenty of offerings for the curse. Heine quickly backed down. At that moment, Gadalkand approached, and Rose, without a second thought, kicked him. This infuriated Gadalkand, who grabbed Rose's leg and threw her. Luckily, as a modified human, Rose was quite resilient. Facing two top lieutenants, the trio's strength was clearly insufficient. Grimm then sent Snow to find Agent 6 for help, while she and Rose tried to stall the two lieutenants. Meanwhile, seeing the situation was dire, Agent 6 was already planning to flee with Tillis. Just then, Snow arrived and informed him that Rose and Grimm were in a bad spot, urging Agent 6 to help them out of old loyalty. Although Agent 6 was somewhat moved, as a member of an evil organization, escaping was still more important to him than saving others. Just as he was about to leave, Snow grabbed him and pleaded that if Agent 6 would help, she would be willing to do anything he asked afterwards. Hearing this, Agent 6 decisively agreed. He led everyone to the rooftop, planning to launch a counterattack from there, and asked Alice to use the remaining evil points to request a sniper rifle. However, Alice discovered there weren't enough points left. Agent 6 had reserved 200 evil points, but he had spent them last night on adult magazines. Alice, helpless, suggested that Agent 6 could earn some quick evil points by beating up the king downstairs, but this was too disrespectful. Tillis and Snow couldn't allow Agent 6 to do such a thing. Instead, Snow decided to sacrifice herself by letting Agent 6 do something she detested. Agent 6 thought about simply kissing her and getting it over with, but he noticed Snow seemed somewhat expectant. Except for Alice, who was egging him on, everyone held their breath. Under high tension, Agent 6 made his move, increasing his evil points. With the newly acquired evil points, Agent 6 exchanged them for a Barrett sniper rifle. He took out the stone creatures with precise shots, leaving the Demon Lord's army dumbfounded, thinking it was some sort of advanced magic. Heine, however, knew it was Agent 6's doing.